High in the Andes mountain range, hundreds of meters above the clouds, lies a wild and lawless city where the obsession with gold means that human life has little value. La Rinconada, a harsh reality that we will explore in this new video from Uncensored World, is recognized as the most dangerous and highest city on the planet. This city is located at an altitude of more than 5,100 meters, in such an extreme location that the oxygen available is barely half that found at sea level. A reality that means that in this place the mere act of breathing can kill you. But this is just one of the many dangers of this lawless place. A forgotten city where no one would live if it weren't for the gold that flows from its bowels. That gold fever brings thousands of hustlers every year, willing to risk their lives in the mines in the hope of changing their destiny. Mines where women are forbidden to enter, but at the same time, a territory where they have become a symbol of strength and sensuality. A reality marked by theft, violence, trafficking of women, and even lawless punishment. Here, they also practice cachorreo, a brutal system in which miners work for more than a month without pay, with the sole hope of keeping whatever they find on their last day underground. A city poisoned by greed, need, and also by mercury, a silent poison that few pay attention to. A territory where brothels mix with rumors of dark cults and pacts with the devil, all in order to obtain gold and escape certain death. Don't miss this new video from Uncensored World, because we guarantee that discovering La Rinconada with us will surprise you. Let's get started. La Rinconada is considered the most dangerous city on the planet, and as you will discover, there are many reasons why. The name La Rinconada is said to come from its location, in a kind of remote corner of the Andes mountain range. This geographical isolation is part of what makes the city such a mysterious and dangerous place, where life seems completely disconnected from the outside world. This infamous city, also known as the lawless city of Peru, is located in the Peruvian Andes, rising imposingly more than 5,100 meters above sea level, making it the highest inhabited city on the planet. It is a place of extremes, where air is scarce and life is measured by daily survival. But as crazy or strange as it may seem to most of us, this enclave in the heart of the mountain range attracts thousands of people every year, seeking the gold that springs from the bowels of the earth, but at a high price. Here, finding gold can end your life. Despite its dangerous nature, La Rinconada is home to a considerable population, ranging from residents to itinerant inhabitants. Most arrive attracted by the gold rush, willing to face life in the mines in exchange for a chance to change their destiny. But what seems like paradise to some is a death trap for many others. The city, built haphazardly and without planning, stretches across the steep and dusty mountains of the Cordillera, a network of narrow streets, makeshift dwellings, and brightly colored houses that contrast with the arid and desolate landscape. To get there, the journey begins in Lima, the capital of Peru, and then heads towards Puno, at an altitude of 3,800 meters, where travelers must acclimatize to avoid altitude sickness. As you will see, if you are not careful when traveling to La Rinconada, the mere act of breathing could kill you. That is why adapting to such high altitudes is not easy. The reason is that in La Rinconada, the air has less than half the oxygen found at sea level, and the simple act of breathing, as I mentioned, can become a deadly challenge. Without proper preparation, the human body can begin to experience serious problems, ranging from headaches and nausea to respiratory failure. Without the right equipment, such as blood oxygen meters or oxygen tanks, life here can be a real challenge, and many of us would succumb to the effects of altitude in a short time. During the ascent to La Rinconada, conditions become increasingly extreme. Snow covers the ground, and as you go higher, the altitude causes headaches and an alarming drop in oxygen levels. One very important fact that all visitors should know is that if blood oxygen levels fall below 85%, the risk of respiratory arrest or brain damage increases significantly. This figure is crucial for survival, as any drop below this threshold puts anyone's life in danger, even those who have lived at high altitudes for years. Many who arrive here, aware of the deadly risk they face, prefer to be escorted by the police to avoid being attacked by locals who see outsiders as easy prey in this hostile environment. Without adequate oxygen levels, extreme fatigue, dizziness, and loss of consciousness are common, making La Rinconada a deadly place for those who do not take the necessary precautions. Local residents who are already accustomed to these extreme conditions have traditional methods to counteract the effects of altitude sickness. Among their methods, chewing coca leaves is a common practice, an ancient remedy that helps alleviate symptoms, as the natural cocaine it contains improves blood circulation and increases oxygenation in the body. In many cases, it is the only way to survive the long days in the mine, where energy is quickly depleted due to the limited oxygen. You might think that long-term residents of La Rinconada are safe, but this is not the case either. As people adapt to the lack of oxygen, their bodies tend to produce more red blood cells to compensate for the low amount of oxygen in the air. This process can spiral out of control and lead to a condition called Monge's disease, due to the excessive increase in red blood cells, which can cause serious problems in the cardiovascular system, such as pulmonary hypertension and heart failure, and can lead to fatal complications if not treated in time. As you can see, both those who arrive and those who live in La Rinconada live with a constant danger lurking above them, as if they were walking on a minefield. But the danger of La Rinconada is not only the lack of oxygen, far from it. As one climbs higher, the landscape changes dramatically, the vegetation disappears, and the icy wind becomes a constant enemy. The freezing climate and sub-zero temperatures make life in the city even more challenging. In this place, there are no trees or natural life, which makes the environment feel even more desolate and frightening. In addition, the streets, although bustling with activity, are extremely dangerous. Here, human trafficking, theft, and violence are a constant, while the inhabitants' lives depend on mining, which is also potentially deadly, and clandestine transactions. La Rinconada is shrouded in an atmosphere of uncertainty, marked by the gold trade, but also by the dark secrets that lurk in the shadows. Before discovering the realities that make this place the most dangerous in the world, we would like to ask you, if you were offered a job in La Rinconada in exchange for gold, would you be willing to risk your life in such a dangerous place? How much money or how much gold would you be willing to risk your life for? We'd love to read your comments, so don't hesitate to leave one before continuing to discover this mysterious city. You know it's the best way you can help us. Thank you. In the mines of La Rinconada, workers risk their lives with no guarantee of success. Some go more than a month without pay, hoping that their last day of work will be the day they can keep whatever they find, due to a system known as el cachorreo. This work system is one of the most controversial aspects of life in this city. Miners, who arrive hoping to change their fate, often have to work between 20 and 30 days without pay in order to be accepted. The last day of work determines whether the effort has been worthwhile, but in many cases, there is no gold to be found. Some miners spend weeks digging without success, and others do not even have the opportunity to collect what they manage to discover. The system, which depends entirely on luck, creates great uncertainty and despair, fueled by the greed of those who control the mines. The name cachorreo comes from the analogy with puppies waiting, not knowing if they will receive anything in return. The word reflects the suffering and uncertainty of these miners, who are trapped in a cycle of work without reward. Sometimes employers take advantage of this situation to exploit workers even further, as the cachorreo system can be manipulated in their favor. If no gold is found, or if the employer decides that no more work can be done that day, the miners receive nothing, which exacerbates the precariousness of the situation and fuels despair. But in addition to the difficulties of adaptation, in these dark and dusty places, life and death are at stake, with no human law to protect the most vulnerable. In La Rinconada, there is no government or laws regulating activities in the city. This has given rise to a social reality based on violence, fear, and competition without rules. Between the mines and the gambling houses, illicit businesses flourish, and the law of the jungle prevails in this corner of the world. Gold is king, and risk is the price to pay for access to it. That is why every week it is not unusual for tragedies of all kinds to occur in this bleak and desolate place. Among the rubble, debris, and poison that permeates the air and soil, as you will later learn, corpses become just another presence forgotten by society, as if they were just another part of this cruel reality. Despite the poor conditions, some find a kind of freedom in La Rinconada. Here, travelers arrive with the hope of transforming their lives, but many never return. Often, the promises of wealth fade away, leaving behind abandoned bodies and broken dreams. But nevertheless, everyone keeps coming, attracted by the glitter of gold, which, although elusive, remains a beacon of hope for those willing to do anything to achieve it. Something few people know is that women are not allowed to enter the mines of La Rinconada due to ancient local beliefs that claim women bring bad luck to gold mining. According to these beliefs, gold can only be mined by men, as the presence of women is believed to alter the spiritual energy of the place and hinder the abundance of the mineral. This tradition is so deeply rooted that it has been kept alive for generations, and any attempt to challenge it is met with rejection by the mining community. However, despite this prohibition, women are not exempt from the hard work that is done in the city. The women who survive in La Rinconada are known as Palaqueras. These women are essential to the local economy, as although they cannot enter the mines, they are responsible for collecting waste from the excavations in search of gold fragments. They are a constant presence in the streets and around the mines, struggling to survive in an environment that marginalizes them. The Palaqueras work tirelessly with their bare hands, removing dirt and mud to obtain small amounts of gold. For them, it is a daily struggle for survival in a society that treats them as second-class citizens. But these ancient beliefs are not the only ones in this dangerous city. There are others, much darker and more frightening. In La Rinconada, legends speak of cults and pacts with dark forces, with the devil at the center of these rituals. It is believed that some of the miners, desperate to get rich quickly, resort to black magic to obtain the coveted gold. These cults, hidden in the shadows, perform rituals by candlelight, invoking evil entities in exchange for dark favors. The people who live here fear these cults so much that they prefer not to talk about them, but the rumors persist. There is talk of sacrifices, invocations, and pacts sealed with blood, with the promise that, in exchange for eternal wealth, the price to be paid is one's soul. Some miners claim to have heard strange whispers on the darkest nights, voices coming from the depths of the earth, as if the devil himself were guiding their hands toward the gold. Others claim to have seen shadowy figures in the mines, a presence that takes away those who dare to challenge the pact. No one dares to go too far into the mine without the protection of amulets or prayers, as superstition is as strong as the need to find gold. In La Rinconada, dark cults and practices are not limited to rituals with the devil. A particularly peculiar cult feared by the inhabitants is that of los abuelos, the grandfathers. These figures, grim-looking statues dressed in miners' clothes, are venerated by the locals in the hope that they will grant them protection and luck in the mine. The grandfathers are believed to be ancient spirits who, at one time, were among the workers searching for gold in the depths of the earth, and now their spirit is trapped in these stone figures. Over time, the statues have become symbols of power, and each miner offers them gifts to ask for favors or to thank them for their luck in the mines. These practices reflect the mixture of desperation, superstition, and the relentless search for gold. The cult of Los Abuelos has become a pillar of local culture, a beacon of hope in the midst of darkness. However, the figure that instills the most fear among the workers of La Rinconada is that of El Tío, a demonic-looking idol who is said to dwell in the depths of the mines. This being is considered the owner of the gold, and it is believed that his spirit manifests itself to protect the treasures from the unwary, who seek riches without respecting the rules of the place. The miners offer him tributes, usually alcohol or cigarettes in exchange for his benevolence. All of this is part of the cycle of life in La Rinconada, where the search for gold mixes with the dark legends that lurk in the shadows, and the line between reality and the supernatural becomes blurred, almost impenetrable. The people here, in their desperation and daily struggle to survive, cling to these myths and cults as a way to find some kind of control in such a wild and unpredictable world. As you can see, La Rinconada is not only dangerous because of violence and exploitation, but also because of the shadows that lurk in its depths, where greed and fear intertwine in a dark circle that never seems to end. La Rinconada has realities as dark as its mines, some of which extend to depths of more than 3,000 meters underground. This underground world, a veritable hell of dust and metal, is a place where human life seems to lose all value. Workers venture into the bowels of the earth facing absolute darkness, with the sole aim of finding the coveted gold. The air in the depths is unbreathable, laden with mercury and other heavy metals, making every day a deadly risk to health. And although death lurks around every corner, the work continues. The bodies of those who succumb to the dangers of the mines are sometimes found among the rubble and the turned earth, but surprisingly, they are ignored by their fellow workers. The need to keep searching for gold, the struggle to survive in such an extreme environment, turns them into shadows of their former selves, willing to continue despite the tragedies unfolding around them. Deep underground, gold is extracted through extreme physical effort, where miners must descend into these inhumane pits carrying rudimentary tools and facing freezing temperatures. Coca, that miraculous leaf that so many consider a blessing in the Andes, is a lifeline for them. It helps them withstand the altitude and symptoms of altitude sickness, relieving nausea and increasing energy to continue working in the depths. However, despite the precautions some take, wear and tear is inevitable. The human body is not designed to withstand these conditions, but the promise of gold and the desperation to find it turns workers into true warriors of the earth, willing to sacrifice their health, their well-being, and even their lives for a dream that many will never see fulfilled. In La Rinconada, gold rules. In this city, as you know, there are no municipal authorities or a real system of law and order. Each mine is a small empire controlled by an owner, and entering without their permission can mean death. The signs at the mine entrances are clear. You will be shot if you stop or trespass on private property. Miners, and intruders in particular, face the brutality of local gangs, one of the most famous and dangerous being Los Primos, who control both mining and daily life in the city. In La Rinconada, violence and crime are commonplace, and the law has no place in a place where gold is the only god. Despite this terrifying reality, the resilience of families, especially women, stands as a symbol of hope and strength. In such a hostile environment, they represent a fundamental pillar in the life of La Rinconada. Female miners, although most do not go down into the mines, are seen as figures of power and sensuality. Dressed in brightly colored dresses, wearing makeup and carefully styled hair, they brave the cold and mud, displaying a beauty that defies the brutal environment around them. In a place where hardship is so extreme, the image of beauties in the mud has become almost a symbol of femininity and resilience, proving that strength and grace can coexist, even in the harshest conditions. In turn, some women follow rituals of intimate cleansing before descending into the mines, as part of their ancestral beliefs. It is believed that these practices can attract the luck of the Apus, the spirits of the mountains, or of Pachamama, Mother Earth, protecting them in their arduous work. These practices, although they seem strange to many, are a way of seeking protection and good fortune in such a dangerous environment. However, this feminine strength, like everything else in La Rinconada, is overshadowed by the sad reality of exploitation. In this dangerous city, the mafias that control the mines also run women trafficking networks. That is why brothels proliferate, and many young women, some even teenagers, are forced to live in conditions of abuse and exploitation. It is heartbreaking to think that in a place so marked by struggle and hope, The lives of these women are so easily sacrificed for the gold and violence that dominate the city. This is the other side of La Rinconada, the darkness of a place where human life is worth less than the metal they extract from the ground. A ground that hides another silent killer, mercury. As if the many dangers of this place were not enough, many people do not realize that the dangers do not end with what they can see. This dangerous element, used in the gold extraction process, contaminates the air, water, and soil. However, it is an invisible poison that few take into account. The desperation of the inhabitants and mine workers is such that the risk of mercury contamination often takes a back seat. The lack of adequate infrastructure exacerbates this situation. The water they bathe and drink in is saturated with mercury, a poison that cannot be seen but can be felt in the body over time. No one escapes the effects of this pollutant. They breathe it, absorb it, and consume it without knowing it, as they continue their daily struggle to survive. In this place, living conditions are so extreme that mercury, along with other dangers, becomes a constant but ignored threat. Workers and residents, trapped in their desperate search for gold, care little about the damage this invisible poison causes to their bodies. Mercury affects both those who arrive and those who live there permanently. Mercury is used in artisanal mining to separate gold, and this is the reason for environmental contamination and neurological diseases. As a result, blood mercury levels in this area are known to be well above the permissible limit, even in children. Poisoning builds up slowly, with many people unaware of the effects until it is too late. But in a place where tragedy is a daily occurrence, who has time to think about invisible harm? Survival is all that matters, and mercury, although present everywhere, becomes another necessary evil that people prefer to ignore. This is the other side of La Rinconada, the darkness of a place where human life is worth less than the metal they extract from the ground. In this hostile environment, it is not only gold that rules, but also the invisible poison of mercury, a constant threat that is slowly claiming more victims in silence. At this point, before learning about the life expectancy and other curiosities of the inhabitants of La Rinconada, we would like to ask you, do you think you could live here? How much gold would you dare to climb La Rinconada for? Would you be willing to risk your life to change your future? Pause the video and leave us your comments. You know that doing so is the best way to support Uncensored World, so that we can continue working every week to discover places as incredible as this one. So, thank you. La Rinconada is, as you have seen, a place where the shadows of despair and greed mingle with the daily struggle for survival. Here, life is as cheap as the gold they mine, and the realities faced by its inhabitants are so harsh that they seem like something out of a never-ending nightmare. In this place, life expectancy does not exceed 50 or 55 years, as existence is reduced to a constant search for something that few ever possess. The coveted gold that could mean the difference between a miserable life and a chance to get ahead. Most people who come to La Rinconada do not stay here permanently, but work in intervals, alternating between the mines and other jobs in an attempt to earn some money. Taxi drivers, for example, are nothing more than miners in their spare time, looking for any kind of income to survive. The question that arises when thinking about this place is, why would anyone continue to live in such an environment? The answer, though bitter, is simple. Poverty and despair are so deep that for many, La Rinconada represents the only chance of survival. In a world where opportunities are few and the hope for a better life is fading, gold is seen as the last golden hope. The struggle to find wealth, though dangerous and deadly, becomes a path that some feel they must take, even if it means risking their lives in the process. This place reminds us that there are realities in the world so harsh that, if it weren't for the circumstances into which we are born, any of us might be tempted to ascend to places as dangerous as La Rinconada, hoping to find something that will allow us to escape a present life with no future. If you've made it this far, don't forget to give us a like. We'd love to know you enjoyed the documentary. As you have seen and surely understand, despite the tragedies that occur day after day, the dark legends and strange cults, it is difficult to blame those who risk everything for that ray of hope. In places like La Rinconada, gold is not just a precious metal, but the only promise of a better life. But what is clear is that human life, in this remote corner of the world, is worth much less than the gold that everyone seeks. And the real tragedy is that, despite everything, many will continue to climb without looking back, hoping that someday, somewhere, that golden glow will give them the chance to live, even if only for a brief moment. From Uncensored World, we hope that this tour of La Rinconada has been as extraordinary for you as it has been for us. With that in mind, and considering the effort that goes into making these videos, if you enjoyed this video and are not yet subscribed, don't wait any longer, and subscribe now by clicking the bell icon so you don't miss the fascinating videos we make every week. Videos like this one, which you can enjoy now to discover another of the most fascinating corners of the planet. Don't miss out and discover the wonders this place has to offer.